Alright everyone, it's another Professor versus NBN matchup, but this time I'm the one playing the NBN, and it's the Professor that's sitting across me on the table. Oh, it's so great to be able to play against the Professor because I can actually analyze the strengths and weaknesses of the Professor in greater detail because it's completely different playing the Professor from the other side of the table as the Corp. So let's get on to the game, shall we? First turn. Look at what I start with. Against any other Corp, my first turn would have been install, sweep, sweep. Install one ice over each server. But because this is the Professor, I am completely okay with letting him into HQ. He can run all he wants. There are no agendas there. He can't do anything to me. No account siphons. Nothing. So right off the bat, you can see this is a huge gaping weakness in the Professor. Yeah. I don't have to worry about HQ at all. All I need to do right now is to set up a secure remote server, which I can easily do because I started with a fantastic hand. I have a toll booth. This allows me to set up a secure remote, and any agendas that I get from R&D, I'll just pump them into the remote. There's nothing he can do to raid my HQ. Instead, I joined a wraparound, another wraparound, so that will form the base of my new remote instead. Toll booth is pretty pricey. I'm not willing to pay the cost. He gets a Faerie out, which is always a nice splash in Professor. I'm not too worried about it yet because I haven't seen any of my sentries yet. He's playing the professional context variant of the Professor, sticking true to the thematic flavor of the card, which I do not agree with, especially in this matchup, because as long as I'm able to land a tag on him, he has to manually draw cards for the rest of the game, which is a huge pain. So yes, I will be looking to do that, to land a successful Midseasons on him. And because he's playing professional context instead of Magnum Opus, he's going to be poor. Look at him, he's only on 1 credit. A few turns into the game already. He doesn't have a proper rig setup, and he's pretty poor. I'm looking very good right now. Mostly thanks to my good early draw luck as well, because I have no agendas early on to defend. Alright, so and I have 2 economic assets going. That's even better because he does not have the capacity to trash them at all. He is in such a weak position. And I can safely, happily, securely advance the NAPD in the remote, knowing that there's absolutely no way he's going to be able to attack or steal that agenda. So he attempts to run on it. It's only a wraparound that I need to res, but I don't even need to res it because he's not going to be able to steal my agenda. He might have an imp in his deck, but it will cost him 4 credits to summon the imp. So yeah, he decided to jack out anyway, but even if he had accessed that card, he's not going to get anything from it. He continues hitting HQ, but that's a very futile effort. Really, the only thing I'm worried about is him summoning an imp onto the board to trash my Midseasons, but as I said, he doesn't even have the money to summon the imp onto the board. That is a huge weakness of Professor. The Professor really needs time to set up, get his economy going, and get a good rate going. And against NBN, which wants to play fast and end early, that's just not going to happen. I further enhance the strength of the server by adding a Draco on top, because I am preparing to pump out agendas other than NEPD into that remote. And another thing is that now that he runs on that server again, I'm going to bait him into using his Faerie. This will be a huge setback if I can get him to use his Faerie, but he chooses to take the trace instead. So be it. I trace him for 4, and he gets a tag. He has to clear the tag because he's running professional context. That is another huge weakness. I mean, that's the weakness I mentioned earlier about prof context. Once again, he runs HQ, and it will be to no avail. I can only sit there and feel sorry for him that he's not getting anything because there isn't anything there to get. So yes, that's what happens when you try to play an early game oriented Professor, which is actually the right thing to do. You cannot afford to sit back and let your opponent get the extra script train going, or to let HB set up or whatever. You need to play early as a Professor, and unfortunately, you are not rewarded for those early runs. He made so many runs on HQ, those are just a waste of his clicks. If he had a nerf agent out, maybe it would have been of some use, or a data sucker, but yeah, the Professor can't really leverage on these cards very well. He doesn't have Demolition Run to combo with Nerf Agent. He doesn't have he doesn't really need data sucker tokens either. So that's why Professor right now is janky at best. That's what I feel. Alright, so he Steam hacks into the remote. Now that's the strength of the Professor. I've always mentioned this. Steam hack is the card you splash with his single influence point, and I definitely didn't see the Steam hack coming, even though I play the Professor myself, and I know how potent the surprise Steam hack is. So with an SMC on board, of course he gets through the server, and I have no choice but to let him steal the build. I'm still going to come out on top. He only has 2 credits to his name and 1 click left. I can easily mid-seasons him down to oblivion. So I'm more than happy that he stole the build because it actually accelerates my win condition. All I need to find is a Psychographics and I can more or less win the game. So, with that said, here goes the mid-seasons. I'm thinking of how much to trace him by. I figure he won't boost the trace because he knows he's going to get slapped with tax anyway. So I'm tracing for 9. 9 is the magic number I need to overscore a build to 5 points, which will win me the game outright. So it goes to 9, and the 12 context goes away. That is very crippling. You have no idea. If he doesn't run any diesels of quality time, which I believe he doesn't because he runs 12 context, he is going to be in a world of hurt. He needs to try to find another SMC somewhere in his deck, and that will take a lot of time. So instead of digging through his deck for an SMC, instead he test runs for the single program that he needs. Of course, it's the trusty Corroder. So what's he going to do? Index me? Fear not, I have a Jackson on board. He can't trash the Jackson because he's so poor. So, and indexing is not going to happen. So what's he going to do? He's only going to access 1 card from my R&D. Sure, go ahead. Even if it's an agenda, it won't put in on match point. And quite frankly, I can just dig through my entire R&D until I find, oh, look at that, fast track. Wow, fast track. Yes, I can summon any agenda I want, even a PSF to PSF lock him, but there's no need for that because I think I just won the game. My Jackson drew into the 2 combo pieces I needed, the Psychographics and the build. I'm having terribly fantastic draw luck this game, much to the detriment of my opponent, unfortunately. But really, you cannot ask for better draws. So much economy early on with good cheap and the run ice, and mid game, my mid seasons draws into a Psychographics build, and I'm about to close the game. As long as he doesn't hit HQ, which he doesn't. Instead, he goes on R&D. He tries to go for the R&D lock instead, which, well, isn't the wrong thing to do, to be perfectly honest. I mean, there's very little he can do right now to stop me, now that he's flooded with text and he doesn't have a decent grade going up. So once again, yes, the Professor, NBN is definitely one of the worst matchups that the Professor can face, especially this kind of NBN, which is Tech Flood Psychographics. And I aptly punish him for that. In 1 turn, I went from 2 points to 8 and I won the game. So yes, the Professor, it has many glaring flaws. I mean, granted, there are so many options you can make. I mean, there are so many choices you can make as the Professor since you have so many different programs you can install with each SMC and test run. So it's very hard to say that he played it bad. In fact, I think he played it as brilliantly as he could, short of getting Digger out. If he got a nerf agent, a medium, or an imp out early, that would have changed the game. If he was able to trash the mid-seasons from my hand, if he was able to R&D lock me with a medium, that would have been totally different. But he suffers due to bad luck with his draws and being just too poor on economy in general. His economy is no match for my asset-based and operation-based economy. That just cannot be overcome with Professor in the early to mid stages of the game. Yeah, there's nothing much he can do. Either he gets tech flooded or I score those agendas for free without any contest. So I think I'm gaining more and more insight as to why Professor is almost universally agreed as one of the bottom 3 IDs in the current meta. It's rather disappointing, but hey, it's still a fun deck to play, and he definitely had some tricks up his sleeve. Kudos to him for that. The Steam hack was very well timed, and yeah, my only doubt about his deck would be the use of both Prof Context and Magnum Opus in the same deck. If you're using Magnum Opus, you should go the Diesel and Quality Time route. If you're using Prof Context, then you should go the KT Jones route for economy. Go all out on the resources. This feels very half-hearted to me. That's about it. Thanks for watching and happy net run.